This is what it actually takes to get lean, especially starting from a state where I kind of started from, where you weren't very active to begin with. You didn't very look very fit to begin with, and you've built over time, So these are like pretty much this is the picture pretty much of like the leanest state I was ever in, the best I ever looked, what I've achieved the most. And this is not, an easy process, especially doing this natural. And, it's not an easy process, but it's doable, especially like I said, starting from a non-athletic point. So here is me, just showing how I was before I ever started, like, as I was a kid. And then when I lost the weight, I was never very active. I was never very fit. Even when I lost the weight, I didn't look very great. So moving on, this is when I did my first bulk. I tried to put on all this muscle. I put on a ton of fat. This works, but it's definitely not optimal. It definitely works, but like I said, it's not optimal because now what you have to go through doing this is the only thing you're seeing is strength gains, but you're like not seeing anything in the mirror because you're putting on so much fat, you're hiding everything. So like I said, if you could deal with it, it works. I wouldn't do this approach because number one, it sucks going through it because you just feel like you're not doing anything. And then the second part is it's terrible for your health. You don't want to put on that much fat. I started chipping this away, after I gained all the weight and all the strength. I started chipping away, chipping away. It took a long time because there was a lot of fat, and I wanted to do it slowly so I could reach my best physique at that point. And that's when, I got really lean and that's when I got that physique that I wanted. After that, you kind of go through this phase. Once you get the leanness you want, it's very hard to maintain that leanness, at least for a long time. Like you can maintain some decent level of leanness, but to stay like everybody's different, so everybody has like a certain body fat percentage that is easier for them to handle. There, I could not handle that long term. I stayed like that for a couple months and I realized it's time to, you know, put some fat back on, go back up to maintenance. This is the next phase you'll go into when you do go back to maintenance is you really fill out. So you do lose some definition, but in this picture, this shows I really filled out at this point. This is honestly the way I like, or the best I feel like I looked out of the whole thing, even though I wasn't as lean. And this is like the best stage. You get to see all the muscle that you actually have because you're not being deprived of like food and nutrients, and your body's like filling up on everything it needed, and your workouts and everything is just great at this point. So now here comes the next stage, and this is the most challenging stage. You were just super lean, then you got this crazy blow up look because you went back to maintenance. Now you have to go back into a surplus. This is me going back into a surplus. So I definitely put on some fat here. This is a slight surplus at that. And I'm also, to me, I don't look, almost feels like I look smaller, but it's because the fat is masking the muscle definition. And it's, only like a month and some change into the lean bulk. So this point is the hardest to grasp because what you want to do is go jump right back into the cut because you were like, I achieved the body I want. I don't want to let that go. But in order to look better the next time you cut and keep building your strength, keep building your muscle size, you have to go through this phase. And this phase isn't that long. So this is the optimal approach to do it. You want to put on some body fat, but you don't want to be in a crazy calorie surplus. You still got to track your calories. You got to still make sure you're only in like a 300 calorie surplus at most. And you want to stick to that and gain weight slowly. Because now when you gain weight slowly on this approach, you're going to see the muscle that you build. You're going to see everything that's going. Your strength's gonna be going up. You're gonna be seeing the muscle you're building, and you're more likely want to stay in the surplus longer just because you see everything. You still look good. You still look athletic. You still look fit. It's not like the other approach where you just like you feel like you're just fat. Yeah, you see that you have mass, but it just feels like you're like fat. This approach is a lot better. It's a lot healthier, and it helps you stick to the bulk long term so you can actually make some solid strength gains and build some solid muscle. And then when you come back down, you look a lot better when you cut. And it's a lot easier. It's going to take way faster instead of chipping away forever. But this is kind of like what you will have to go through if you want, to go through this phase where you just want to keep building, you want to keep making progress, and you want to keep, looking better the next time you cut. You could what I could have did was I could have reached that body that I had and then went to maintenance and just stayed there, but that's not what I wanted. I want to get stronger and I want to keep building and building and building. I want to reach my natural ceiling. So I'm going to keep doing this. But you don't have to do that. You could stop at where you were. You can't stay in that deficit forever, but you can jump to maintenance. If you like the way you look, you could stay there for good. And if you're fine with that, just stay at maintenance and work out and try to progress week by week and just keep that going until you want to bulk or whatever your next goal is. But this is pretty much the approach that you're going to have to go through, especially if you're a natural. It's a long process, and especially if you're not very athletic to begin with, because 9 times out of 10, if you're not very athletic to begin with, you kind of look like me in the beginning, probably don't have the best genetics, and it's doable. You can get a body that looks better than most people that work out, but it's just going to be a little harder. It's going to take a little more dedication, a little more consistency, a little stricter with your diet. Not very strict, not like stricter with your diet, but like the calorie tracking and the protein tracking and all that, and really tracking your workouts. You're definitely not going to be the person, if you started like me, you're definitely not going to be the person that's going to be able to go in there and wing it and make results. Trust me, I went through that, wasted years. Don't do that. If you need help with any of this, just DM me, coach, and I'll help you out.